Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are. Eric's with me, of course. We're, we if it's Tuesday night, it's Saw, literally. and, we're, and we're talking about the innocence or the guilt of 2004's Saw, directed by the great, at least in my opinion, the great James Wan. Story by James Wan and Lee Winnell. And this is going to be an interesting conversation. I've been waiting to kind of dip my toes back into the franchise and just kind of getting an overview and how could we do any better than start with the first film, man?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and it makes sense, and like we were saying, like, right before we went live, remember how many times every single year, if it's October, that means it's time for Saw.
that's right.
All those and it was probably once a year for at least 6 years. I mean, it felt
Yeah,
like it because these are made so quick and so cheaply, but they made so much money, and,
they did.
I 100% agree with you what you said about James Wan. He is so great behind the camera, not just because of
Mm,
this, what he's done in the Conjuring universe. I
mm-hmm.
recently was on Marty's channel discussing Death Sentence with Kevin Bacon,
Mm, mm,
and then we know he's done Aquaman, Fast and the Furious. So the man
yeah.
is got a talent.
Yeah, I mean, he could pretty much do anything, and he's proven that. And he's, you know what I love about him so much? One of the things I love about him so much is he's a student.
Hmm.
I've heard him in so many interviews, and he talked about, his horror fandom and how he had his own journey and all the greats back in the day that he looked up to and gained inspiration from. And you can see that in his films. And
Hmm.
the thing that's great about him, as with so many other great filmmakers, is to have inspiration, but also to push the envelope forward, to
Hmm.
keep walking the path, so to speak. And he's a really good example of a horror director that's been able to do that, because now, obviously, and we just said it, 2004, and obviously it's been 20 years of this franchise.
Yeah.
And so he's been doing this for a long time. So shout out to James Wan. He's definitely gifted. For you
Oh yeah.
guys in the chat, thank you so much for coming to hang out with us. This is going to be a lot of fun, and we enjoy the interactive aspect of this. Um, just to say a blanket hello, we got Val in the house. What's up,
Hey
Val? Good
Val.
to see you. We got Paula. We got Sarah. We've got Danielle. All right. Hey, she says, turns out I have seen Night of the Comet. I just didn't remember till I was watching it. There you go. We're going to talk about that too, man, because we do have our Horrortober challenge, and all this month we're just trying to have as much fun as we can as we head to Halloween. So thank you for throwing that out there, Danielle. And we got Steven in the
Hey
house.
Steven.
What's up? Good to have you here. We got Wayne. I knew Wayne would be here.
Yeah, gotta support the Aussies.
Yeah. My channel should just do Australian horror and Wayne will be there all the time. What's up, Julie? Good to have you here. And I know Julie's a huge fan of this series.
Nice.
Anytime,
Okay.
yeah, anytime I've talked about it, and it's been a while since we've done that on the channel, Julie is always in the comments, always, throwing out theories and just enjoying just aspects of this series. So,
Hmm.
all right, Spoof, what's up? We got May in the house too. What's up, May? Good to see you. Thank you guys for jumping in tonight. Gene, what's up, Gene? Good to see you. Ginger Ninja, rounding out, well, almost rounding out our Aussie crew. We get maybe
Hmm.
if Rachel jumps in, we'll have the trifecta. Catherine, what's up? And I mean that all with love, of course.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. And there she is.
See, there you go. There, the Holy Trinity has shown up. They
What's up,
complete.
Rachel? That's awesome. We got Zed, we got Brian. Good to have you guys. So, what we're going to do, and everyone else jumping in, hello. What we're going to do is, if you haven't been around when we've done our verdict discussions, we're just look at Ginger Ninja. Bro, if I do it, you're on with us. You're on with us, no doubt. Um, Julie, I love Costas Mandalore. You know that. Yeah. Um, so what we've been I can't stop. What's up, Strange Monkey? All right.
Monkey.
What's up, buddy? Our life in horror in the house. All right. I know, man. I wish I could see that ending
Mm-hmm.
and for the first time. We're gonna get to that too, by the way. So what we've been doing is breaking down these films, and this is case number 3, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
Case number 3, okay? And what we wanna do is basically have a discussion, ourselves and also with you, and also figure out the innocence or the guilt of the particular film. So tonight, obviously, we're talking about Saw. So Eric, let's start this off. You know how we do this thing. We wanna start off with what I've been calling, the I guess you would say the opening statements, and which is
Mm-hmm.
basically us just kind of talking about our thoughts on the film. For you, I'll start with you. What are your opening statements about the film, whether it's how you came to find it, what you thought of it, or just some basic stuff?
Um, I did not see this in theaters. I didn't even know it existed until it was on DVD, and
Mhm,
someone at work mentioned it, and I must have just missed the commercials. I didn't know how long it was in theaters, but
mhm,
being a horror film and my friend telling me that I had to see it, and he did not want to spoil anything,
mhm.
really sold it for me. So I remember I watched it on DVD, and what I really loved is I've said it before. I'm a big fan of less is more, and that's what James Wan really did. He got you
Mhm.
involved in this situation.
Right.
He got you to care for, or at least get interested in a lot of characters,
Mhm.
and you just he pulls you in like a really good novel or a comic book or something like that, when you can't wait to see where this is going, because you can feel the build up, you can feel the tension, because there is the situation here is basically on a timer, you know what I
Yeah,
mean, for our main protagonist, and it just keeps getting amped up and up and up, and I think it perfectly edits in the side story with Tap and Sing, the two detectives,
that's
and
right.
it's just edited flawlessly. And once I saw this, we're going to talk about the ending. That was one of those wow moments. Like I'm not just saying wow. No, it really was like one of those you had to process that, because it was such a shock. And to steal a wrestling term, it didn't shit the bed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you can have a twist ending and people will just be like, "That's it," or you can have a
Mhm.
twist or surprise ending and be like, "That's awesome." It wasn't just a jump scare; it was something that messed with you, and it's great because then you want to go back and rewatch it and
That's right.
see if Tobin Bell's moving on the ground or anything like that. So that's what
Mhm.
also makes a great film, that it makes you want to rewatch it right away. And then I started getting excited for every follow up and every James Wan movie that came out after that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, well said, man. And I agree with so much of what you said, pretty much everything actually. I mean, this was at the time, you guys got to remember, at the time, we're talking '04, and horror had, it had kind of gone up and down.
Hmm.
Most notably, we kind of had gotten the end of the slasher craze, right in the beginning of the '90s, and then it was reignited with Scream. Um, and as many things happen, there were a lot of good things that came from that, and some maybe not so great things that came from that. And I think it was kind of like horror was, I don't want to say on its last legs, but it kind of
Hmm.
started to become something that wasn't as hot. Maybe that's
Right.
the way to put it. Because I know myself, and I'll be quite honest, I don't think I've ever spoken about this ever. At that point in horror, I was kind of, I don't want to say checked out, but
Hmm.
I was just kind of like, yeah, hey, whatever, a movie had come out and, I might watch it, I may not, I kind of gotten to the end of my rope a little bit too. But then you had a couple of movies here and there, like, Final Destination and a couple of others that started to kind of open that door again. And granted, I know we're only talking about a couple of years because Scream
Right.
came out in '96, but you got to remember, man, at least for me as a fan, I was used to multiple horror movies every year that
Hmm.
was like stoking that flame, and of course, watching older movies, and building up my catalog. So when Saw came out, it was like boom. it really helped to garner that energy again, in my opinion. And the film, it's so crafty the way it's set up because
Mhm.
you think it's one thing, but it's maybe something else, and then you find out it's something else.
Yeah.
And the way that it's put together, like you said, the editing is so good because it really helps to move the story forward. And as you're following, Gordon and Adam, and you're so invested in them, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? But then there's other things happening on the outside that is in direct conflict with those two characters. And like you said, you got Tap and Sing.
Mhm.
um uh, Shout out to Danny Glover, because when I
Yeah.
first saw that he was in this, I was like, what? Danny Glover's in a horror movie? What's
Yeah.
going on? And he was great, as that
Mhm.
grizzled, old school type of detective. So it was just one of those concepts that was fantastic to me. And I remember leaving the theater, and we'll talk more about it, but I remember leaving the theater and I was just so jacked up. You know what I mean? I was like,
Mhm.
wow, what did I would have gone back in and watched it again if I could. It was
Mhm.
just such a cool thing. And it became a thing for me and my friends. Every year we
Yep.
would go to see these movies. And of course, this is where it began. So awesome stuff, man. Awesome stuff. Um, Real quick in the chat, just to catch up to these guys a little bit. And again, you guys let us know um, perhaps your first experience with Saw and how it shaped you, whether you thought it was great, whether you thought it wasn't. We'll get to some of those things here. We won't get to everyone, but we'll try to get to as many people as we can. Um, Rachel saying that Saw 2 gave me one of my worst horror movie experiences. The scene with the guy in the incinerator gave me so much anxiety. My hubby had to turn off the film. I
Ooh.
immediately started to cry hysterically. Ooh, wow. Yeah, that was a tough scene.
Mhm.
That was a tough scene. I mean, and of course we'll definitely be getting to those types of scenes. Wow. Well, put it this way, Rachel. Let us know, overall
Mhm.
after that, how the rest of the franchise, how it worked for you, because I'm really curious. Wow. Spoof saying it was an experimental film. I remember answering a questionnaire or something to go see it. Ooh, okay. All right. Very, very cool. Let's see. Thomas in the house. What's up, Thomas? Saying saw his true crime before true crime. All right. All right. Jerry's in the house. What's going
Hey,
on?
Jerry.
All right. Let's see. I just want to catch up here with the rest of these guys. Ginger Ninja also agreeing with the ending, saying it was fire. Yes. Yep. Absolutely. And thank you for putting the link for Eric's channel in the chat, Julie. So make sure if you guys haven't, please subscribe to Eric's channel. We've also got the link in the description as well. All
Thank
right.
you.
And of course, Julie, she'll champion this forever. Our Saw reviews playlist, which was so long ago now, it feels like, but they were some great discussions about the whole series. We ranked it, we deep dived. It was really, really, really cool. All right. And Rachel saying I used Saw as a bookend to my favorite horror era. Basically, I love the Scream through Saw era of horror, 96 through 2004. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Trey saying that Saw is all right, nothing special. One of the better 2000s horror movies. Too bad the sequels took it to insane traps, overly gore as possible. Well said. Well said.
Mhm.
Okay. Our Life in Horror saying we've got them on physical too. Yeah, man. I do too. It's
Yep.
great.
Same here.
It's great. It's great. Um, and Sarah, keeping track of the chat, we got 18 likes. So if you haven't hit the like button, please do. It helps to support the channel and we'd appreciate it. All right. Um, and our life saying sub to Eric. There you go.
Oh,
All
thank you.
right. Very, very
Hope you
cool.
enjoy it.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go to our next. Saw had one of the top 3 twist reveals of all time. Yeah, not a huge fan of the franchise, but the first is great. There you go. Well said,
Mhm.
Julie. Sarah. Well said. Well said. Okay. So let's go to our next little talking point here, Eric. and I call this point the cross examination of sorts. So basically, we're going to be asking each other one question. Of course, I'll start off asking you a question.
Mhm.
Is this movie started this franchise, and it also started a wave of what was to be called torture porn. And well, I won't say what I think of it, but
Mhm.
first of all, what do you think of that as far as the term that this film started? And do you find it a fair way to view this film and the franchise or not, and why?
First, I hate that term. I hate the
Okay.
term torture porn. I've never liked it.
Okay.
Because it just has a disgusting sound to it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Torture is not fun. Kind of
Right.
like what I what I mentioned with Art the Clown last week. You know what I mean? I don't find it fun. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
find it too gratuitous, and we get it. We know what you're doing. You don't have to have 3 minutes of it.
Right.
Um, and I think it's unfair maybe to the earlier entries, maybe up to like maybe 1, 2, and a little bit of 3. I do
Hmm.
think torture porn is the wrong way to describe this franchise. Um,
Hmm.
yes, a lot of people go to these movies for the traps, and it's like we go to Friday the 13th to see Jason do his thing. We go to
Right.
Saw to see the traps, but there's more to it than that. The creativity, the backstory, the
Hmm.
reasoning why Jigsaw and Amanda are doing what they're doing, and I think the fact that it's labeled torture porn, which is something like Hostel is torture porn. It's kind of like gore for gore's sake for the most
Hmm.
part, in my opinion.
Agreed.
I think it really hurts this franchise because a lot of people just turned off by the term, like me. I don't want to go fucking see that. You know what I mean? And that sucks because there's what 10, 11 films, I think, if you count Spiral, something like that.
10.
You're at
Yeah.
least you're at least missing out on the first three, the trilogy, especially the first one, which isn't really bloody at all. It's like
Yeah.
the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Hardly
Hmm.
any blood. I mean, there's more in it than Chainsaw had, but it's not
Right.
a gore fest in the least. And
Hmm.
just being associated with that term is unfair and completely wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely have to say I agree with that, because I think, and one thing that I've said so much whenever I've talked about this movie or the franchise, is I think that there is a heck of a lot more um, to these films than the traps. I mean,
Hmm.
don't get me wrong, that became a calling card for sure. I mean, and that's smart business as well, right?
Hmm.
Because especially in horror, you do have to separate yourself. And this franchise, this villain, was able to do that through the things that he did, and also these traps. Of course, that brought in the whole spectacle aspect of it.
Hmm.
So, but I think, and you hit it right on the nail. I think something like Hostel definitely is more of,
Hmm.
the torture for torture's sake vibe rather than Saw. Because in Saw, if you really look at most of the movies, even the movies with the most traps, or
Hmm.
spend the most time on traps, you still have a balance of so much more story to traps, right?
Hmm.
And story, a lot of it is like, investigative type of stuff, police procedural type of stuff in so many of the films.
Hmm.
And that is really the brunt of what these movies are, and for me personally, I think that's another reason why I gravitated towards it, because I love those types of stories where there's a mystery or there's a story, and you got all these puzzle pieces that you're putting together. And that is especially in the first six.
Hmm.
That was just so intriguing to me. It's like trying to figure out, where is this going to go, and they were able to kind of string the story along with the audience. And
Hmm.
granted, near the later sequels, other than X or 10, they started to, it's like, okay, wait a minute now,
Yeah.
how deep are we going to dig in this hole, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
but but still, to even be able to do that over the course of, 4, 5, 6 films or so, that's pretty good, especially in horror. So anyways, great point that you made too, man. Great point.
Mhm.
Now, before we get to something that you throw to me, just to catch
Sure.
up in the chat, May Ann has a channel member anniversary for 17 months, and that is all right.
Very
Thank you
cool.
so much, May. We
Good for you.
appreciate you. Yeah, that's a long time, bro. Sometimes when I see those numbers, I'm just like, wow, that's absolutely
Makes you feel old,
crazy.
doesn't it?
It more than you know, brother. More than you know. She says, I came, I saw, look what she did there. I conquered and fell in love with this channel. I'm a watcher forever. Oh, well, hey, thank you so much,
Very
May.
cool.
That's very, very kind of you. Um, and hey, and we got Steven in the house. What's up, Steven? Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming here. All right. Julie saying, I don't go for the traps, I go for the drama. There you go.
Mhm.
Yes, yes, yes. Danielle saying Saw is gory, but not exactly torture porn. Has a story, reason, and plot. All right. Well said. And you're welcome, May. You are welcome. 1 through 7 are very soap opera, but in a good way. It is true. It's true. So, again, to Eric's point, I just think that it's too bad that that term kind of got fixed with this franchise, because it
Mhm.
does have a negative connotation in a way. I mean, of course, there's some folks that love gore, gore for gore's sake,
Mhm.
and stuff like that, but I think the general audience doesn't. If you
Mhm.
were to take the percentages, you know what I mean. So, all right, so Eric, let's turn it over to you. What would you like to throw out as part of your cross examination?
Well, I was thinking about it, and I was gonna ask you, seeing how simple this film really is,
Yes.
very, very low budget,
Yes.
not overly gory, but again, like I said, with Texas Chainsaw, it tricks your mind into thinking that.
Mhm.
We have great performances, and then we have that twist ending. Did you really expect this franchise to explode as big as it did, so much that we had basically, one film every October? Because like I said, if that ending didn't hit the landing,
Mhm.
everyone would have been disappointed. Did you expect honestly, something as small as this? No one knew who James Wan was. I hate to say it, Carrie Elways and Danny Glover, they weren't huge movie stars considering their careers at the time. It
Mhm.
could have all gone downhill. Could you even have a little inkling of where this could have exploded from this simple movie?
To be quite honest, not at all, man. Even after I left the theater,
Mhm.
I was kind of like, I felt so good about it. I was excited. I was pumped up. Like I said, I wanted to see it again. But I could have, I mean, again, and you know how it is here on this channel, and through a lot of our community, our horror community, franchises is a big thing, and we've
Mhm.
talked about so many on this channel. We talk about a whole bunch. You got to remember, I mean, to what you just said, 20 years,
Yeah.
it'll be 21 years, when we get the next film, 11. And at one point coming out every year and making so much money, small budgets, and really carving out a little space in horror, in my
Mhm.
opinion. I would have never guessed it. I don't think anybody, I mean, don't get me wrong. There might be people even in the audience here. You guys let us know what you think about these things. But it's hard to imagine anybody would have said, after seeing this film, this thing is going to run for 20 years, 21 years, and it's going to be popular. It's going to make a lot of money. It's going to
Mhm.
have 10 more sequels. I don't know if anyone could have thought that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, this franchise is almost going to eclipse Friday the 13th for the amount of
Yeah.
movies. That's crazy because
Mhm.
when Friday was at its peak, I definitely was saying, "We gotta get to 13." You remember that?
Yeah,
Everybody's like,
we
"We
all
gotta
did.
we gotta get to number 13," and we haven't yet, which is an abomination, but that's another story.
Yeah.
But we could definitely see that thing going, because Jason and Friday was a cultural thing, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Our generation, before us and even after us, right? Um, Nightmare, you could see that going on. Halloween, you could see that going on. Scream, you could see that going on. But Saw, no. If you had given me $1,000,000
Mhm.
and you said I could only go one way or the other. It's gonna be, what it is today, or it's not, I would have said nope. I would have said
Okay.
no.
I got one small follow-up question, and before we talk about, whether it's guilty or not,
Mhm.
would you, as we've already admitted that we enjoy the film,
Mhm.
despite our categories, would you have been okay if it was just a one-off film and no sequels
Ooh.
with the way it ended? I personally, as much as I
Mhm.
do love the sequels, and I'm glad we got them,
Mhm.
I also think if it was just at one and done, I do think that the ending would be more impactful, and I would have been completely okay.
Mhm. Well, they say hindsight is 2020,
Mhm.
and I'm telling you, man, I would have been okay with it,
Mhm.
and I'm just being honest, and I know some folks and you guys in the chat let us know too, when we talk about sequelitis and, franchises that kind of linger on and on and on, sometimes
Mhm.
not living up to the past glories. I gotta admit, man, yes, the first film would have been fine on its own, from A to Z when you look at it. It's fine on its own, and I would
Mhm.
have enjoyed it. But I think this is one of those examples, and I could give some others, I'm sure, of other
Mhm.
franchises, but I think this is an example for me that the sequels, at least the first handful of sequels, made me enjoy the first film even more.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And and maybe we'll get to it. We'll see. You guys let us know if it's something you want to see on a future stream. But when we got to Saw 2 and
Mhm.
3, especially 2, Tobin
Yeah.
Bell, for me anyways, he solidified himself
Mhm.
because I was just like, wow, I'm just so interested in this character. I'm curious, I'm invested, I'm disgusted by him.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to be on that journey as we were developing or
Mhm.
as this franchise was being developed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that yes, it could have stood on its own, but I'm glad it had sequels.
Yeah.
I'm really glad.
Yeah, I am too. And shout out to Tobin because after part 3, it's nothing but cameos aside from X.
Mhm.
And in those two sequels, parts 2 and 3, all he does is either sit there and
Yep.
talk or lie in a bed and talk. But there's
Mm.
something about him that just draws you in, and his performance is so good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as soon as he says it, "Hello, I want to play a
Mhm.
game." And it's like, and think about that, man. It was some very simplistic stuff. I mean, we're kind of all over the place. We'll get to our specific categories, but it was some really simplistic stuff that worked, and
Mhm.
part of that is because of his charisma. He just captivates, an audience, in my opinion. And I
Mhm.
think I think that was smart of them to start to lean into that a little bit as they started to go into 2 and 3. So, all right, very very cool. Gina's also in the house. What's going on, Gina? And she has a channel member anniversary, 16 months.
Good for you.
Wow. All right. Thank you so much, Gina. We appreciate you. You know that. Saying much love, everyone. Very very cool. All right. Strange Monkey saying the story pulled me in so easily I felt like I was trapped in the room with Gordon and Adam. Shout out to Danny Glover.
That's
Right?
right.
Definitely big shout out to Danny Glover. He was great in this. He really was. We got hey, look, we got Ben Tramer in the house. What's up, man? Watch out for cop cars, bro.
That's
That's all
right.
I gotta say.
Look both ways before crossing the street, Ben.
That's right. That's right. Our good buddy Ginger Ninja also with a channel member
Good for
anniversary. And
you. Damn.
man, 20 months, bro. It's just crazy. I mean, and it's been longer than that, just being a part of this community,
Mhm.
this family, being so supportive, being a brother. And man, much love, Ginger Ninja.
Yep.
Seriously. No doubt about that. Okay. All right, so let's do this. Let's get into some specifics. We want to go into specific categories and we want to grade these categories. And what we're going to do, and if you've been here, we're basically on a score system of 1 to 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. You guys can also give us your scores. We won't get to everyone, but if you do send it in a super chat, and you give us your score, we will add that to the final tally of will we get innocent or guilty for Saul. So, first off, Eric, let's start with this one. Okay. The story itself. So when we talk about the film, the story A to Z, how we felt, what would you give it for a score 1 to 5 and why?
I am going to hit it out of the park. I'm going to give this story a 5 because
Ooh.
I am drawn in from beginning to end with what all of these characters are put through. Not
Mhm.
just the two boys in the bathroom. All
Mhm.
these characters are put through. The way it's interweb, you know, and
Mhm.
then when certain things are revealed, like why Zepp is doing what he's doing,
Yes.
you understand his
Mhm.
life is on the line. You know what I mean? And it's just a simple 2 minute scene explaining it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
When you get that revelation why Danny Glover is so obsessed because of the way this is edited with the time jumps.
Yeah.
You're really invested because he's not just a cop trying to catch the bad guy. He's a cop out for revenge. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you don't get that until the final act, basically.
Mm.
When you
Mhm.
take a villain, we don't know who it is, yet, and you see his reasoning behind it. You don't you don't agree with it, but you kind of understand it. You know what I mean? Making
Right.
people realize, okay, this is life. How far will you go to live? The creativity and just the way it makes your mind think these things. You
Mhm.
know, it gets me every time. I think from beginning to end, not just because of the twist ending, just from beginning to end. And then the way it ends, you're wondering, okay, did Gordon make it out alive? Is Lee Winnell stuck there forever? Who is this
Right.
mystery man? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's
Mhm.
just so perfect, and it's I hate this saying this cliche. It is lightning in a bottle when it comes to this story. It's just boom, 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 and it's all hits.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. So you're giving it a 5. You
Yeah,
guys in the chat, let us know what you're gonna give. And Ju- Julie keeps putting the Saw playlist up, saying they are awesome. That
I
is
think she's a fan.
Thank you so much, Julie. I appreciate that. Seriously. I mean, when we do these types of things, we have fun doing it, right? But
Hmm.
it takes work, to put it together. And when we talked about the franchise, that's why I was interested to see how tonight would go. When we talked about the franchise, we really had a division. We had some people that absolutely loved it, like Julie, and
Hmm.
we had some folks that were just like, no, we're not down with this. And so, which kind of surprised me because the films were so popular. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? They made so much money in general, at least the first handful.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we got to like six, although I love six and I think it's a great film, that's when I think there were some people that started to check out. But anyways, thank you, Julie. We got Jamie in the house. What's up,
Hey, Jamie.
Jamie? All right. Hope you're doing well. Saying Saw's my favorite horror movie franchise, hands down. Wow,
Hmm.
that is so cool. I didn't know that, or I don't remember that, but that is awesome. Hands down. And she's seen a lot of horror movies. That is very cool. All right. We got Russell in the house too. All of you guys jumping in. Troy, David, thanks for being here. And again, if you haven't hit the like button, please do. Julie is saying we're at 25. Definitely we can get to 30. That would be awesome. Okay. All right. For me, when we talk about story, I love the story. And I
Hmm.
think that for what they were working with budget wise and just everything involved. I mean, they really were able to throw this thing together. And we've seen this before
Hmm.
in a lot of great movies back in the day, Elm Street, Halloween, so many. Um, and I think they were able to overcome so much. But like you said, it is a very simple story, which isn't a bad thing. It isn't a
Right.
bad thing. But I do think that they were able to lean into that a lot to help kind of hide, some of the things with budget and so forth. I mean, I love the film, don't get me wrong. But I'm gonna go with a 4.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with a 4, which is still great. I mean, a 3 is middle of the road.
Hmm.
So 4 is actually really, really good. But I'm gonna go with a 4 just because of the fact that I think, like if you look at something like Saw X, you know,
Hmm.
they were able to and of course that's a long divide between the first one and the freaking
Yeah.
10th. But I'm just saying they were able to flesh out so many other things and kind of do a little bit more with the story that
Mhm.
they're able to do with the first one. So that's why I'm just going to go with a
Okay.
4. But if you ask me tomorrow, who knows? Maybe I'd go with a 5. But
All
I'll
right.
go
Well,
with
we'll stop this stream and then we'll catch you all tomorrow night. How about that?
you would do that, wouldn't
Yeah,
you?
I would.
All right. Julie's going with a 5. Jamie is going with a 5. Russell's going with a 5. Wow. Okay. Wayne's going with a 5. We got Fluff in the house. What's up, man? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Welcome, welcome. Haven't seen you in a while. All right. Gina says, I would give all the stories I've seen, I'd give 2.5. They're not my type of film, but well executed. All right. Now,
Okay.
again, we don't have point 0.5. Maybe I might have to reconsider that. But for tonight, we don't have 0.5, Gina. So let us know. Is it a 2 or a 3? All right. Let's see. Oh my God. And Jamie coming in with some facts. I think that a lot of people don't realize
Mm-hmm.
that he has a frontal lobe tumor. That's what caused his flawed morality. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Um, and I I should get Julie on here at one point. I know she loves that quote when he says, "Killing is distasteful to
Mhm.
me."
Yeah.
It is a great line. Tobin's awesome. He's awesome. He really is. We also have Russell with a channel member anniversary, a whole bunch of anniversaries
Good
tonight.
for you.
11 months. Yes. Thank you so much, brother. Saying the greatest, jeez, the greatest channel on YouTube. Keep up the great work. Thanks a lot, Russell. We appreciate you, man.
Yep.
Jamie saying, sorry, I've been MIA. I'm often tired and not feeling well. Well, Jamie, thank you so
Don't
much
worry
for
about it.
being here. And, we're always here and we hope that you feel better soon and that you're at least having some fun tonight. But
Mm-hmm.
thank you so much for coming and hanging out.
Yep.
Very, very cool. Okay. And we got Oliver in the house too. Welcome to the chat, Oliver. Hope you're doing well, man. Saying hello, hello. All right. So again, guys, we're talking about the story. Let us know how you would rate it 1 to 5, 1 being terrible and 5 being excellent. So Eric came in with a score of 5. I came in with a score of 4. And again, if you want to put points to the total, then you can throw in a super chat and let us know what your point is. Okay, next category. Let's do this, Eric. Here we go. Okay, when we talk about the characters in the film, obviously we're talking about all the characters and how they popped, on film. What would you say about the characters and what's the score 1 to 5 that you want to give them?
Now this is where it gets tough,
Mm,
but I think I hate to say it. I think a 3 for me is fair. The
okay.
characters we get a lot out of, Gordon, Lee Winnell, the two detectives, they're really, really good. The
Mhm.
problem is we don't really get a lot of anyone else. We don't get much of Gordon's family. We don't get much of Amanda. We don't even realize how important Amanda is until the next
Mhm.
film. You know what I mean? So we have a lot of characters. Even Zepp. Zepp is really hardly in the movie. He's important, but he's
Yes.
not in it that much. So
Right.
I think that's the main problem is we do have a couple handfuls of characters, but there isn't much to the majority of them.
Mhm.
And I think that kind of hampers the film. I love the four main ones. I'm not going to
Yep.
count Jigsaw. He's just a voice. You know what I mean? So I'm not
That's
really going to
right.
count him. But the four main ones we get are great. But the other ones, which are a lot like even I love Dina Meyer. She's
Yes.
always great, but again, hardly in the film. So there really isn't much to them. So I got to be honest and probably go with 3.
Okay, all right. So for me, when I think of the characters, I agree with so much of what you said. I think that again, based upon what we have going on with this film, with the budget and with all of the things trying to get this done,
Mm-hmm.
to make a movie and get it released like a film like this, that's a win. That's a huge win, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of work. I mean, it's crazy amounts of work. The longer I've been doing YouTube and getting the opportunity to talk with filmmakers and kind of see some of the behind the scenes of that process, I've
Mhm.
gained more and more respect for any of these films that make a theatrical release, and especially when they have so many obstacles to overcome, like budget
Mhm.
and so forth. It's absolutely crazy, and also gives me a lot of respect for, movies from back in the day as well. But all of that being said, you're right. We don't get a lot of time with these characters outside of Gordon and Adam. I think that for what they wanted to do, what they presented to us as a story, it worked
Mhm.
because you're so claustrophobic and invested with those two that you sometimes forget a little bit about what's going outside. But that
Mhm.
also strengthens those events. And when it all kind of starts to come together, it's like this roller coaster you're on. But that being said, I have to agree with you. I would go with a 3 for characters because we don't get a lot of time with those others. And even
Mhm.
with Gordon and Adam, the movie is shrouded in a lot of mystery. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? And that's what it's supposed to be. Like, for instance, when you get to 2 and beyond, the characters that we spend time with, we get to know a lot
Mhm.
about them, and we get a lot of interplay between them. This movie, again, it's lean and it's mean, and that's great for a lot of things. But
Mhm.
when I think about characters, if I was to score it 1 to 5, I'd go right in the middle with a 3, just like you,
Mhm.
brother. All right. Let's see what we've got going on in the chat. And we're also going to get ready to open the poll where you guys will vote specifically to find out whether or not Saul will be innocent or guilty. We got Jigsaw rules. All right.
Hey.
It always trips me out, man. Whenever I have talked about Saw, and obviously tonight
Mhm.
too, we'll have someone that has a handle that is like Saw related. It's so cool.
I just love it in general, if we're talking Halloween, Ben Tramer happens to show up, or The Shape
That's
in the
right.
Shadows, and, if we're
That's
talking
right.
Freddy, Elm Street Lat's Brat is always there,
I
so
know.
it's really cool to see, like, these dedicated, franchise fans,
Heck yeah.
just with the title of their channels or just their handles, it's really cool.
It is, man. It's really cool. Hollywood guys in the house too. What's up, man? Spoof is everyone's got a 3.5. Spoof's going with a 3.5. All right. All right. For characters. Sarah says we're at 29 likes. Thank you so much. Ben saying we're at 30. All right. You guys all right. Thank you so much for checking that and helping us out. And Hollywood guys coming in with a $5 super chat. Thank you
Nice.
so much, brother. We appreciate that. It helps us out. Saying I like the original Saw the best. The later movies are kind of confusing, but it's a timeline, and the twist in the ending in Saw was fantastic. All right. Very, very cool. Well, Hollywood guy, let us know if you're voting innocent or guilty. Thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate that. Very, very cool. And hey, hey, Oliver has joined the membership channel membership.
Nice. Welcome, dude.
Very, very cool. Much appreciated. One of our new movie fanatics, man. Thank you so much. We appreciate that, brother. Thank you. Thank you. It helps us out and allows us to keep doing all the different things that we do. So let's do,
Mhm.
man, for Oliver and Hollywood guy, and everyone, of course. Let's do one of our clips that we just launched, and you already know what it is, but I just love this stuff so much. Eric, sometimes when when you need to put your foot down, there's
Mhm.
obviously there's one guy that comes to mind, but maybe there's a couple of others that can be a part of the process. And here we are.
We're fine. Bullshit! No! You son of a bitch! Shut up! Go to your room!
Back the fuck off!
And who would have thought
Ah,
out of everyone that Tom Hanks would be in that crew?
everybody's got a breaking point, man.
That's
Even the
right.
nicest guys in the world.
Oh my God. Oh, thank you so much, guys. We appreciate the support. All right, let me jump to the chat here. Oh man. Jamie says the only thing Saw is guilty of is being super effing awesome sauce. There you go. There you go. Oliver saying thanks, guys. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
man. Seriously, we appreciate you being that generous to help us, to help this community grow. It really makes a big difference and helps us do these types of streams and do more. And it really, really does. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. He said, I'm a diehard Saw fan, and I can't wait to see 11. Yes, I agree, man. I can't wait either. I was so ready to see it this year, man.
Yeah.
When it originally had that release date, but I I'm okay with it if it makes sure that the story is good. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? That's the biggest thing to me. I want to have a really good story.
Yeah, because X was so successful.
That's
I
right.
don't I don't want them to fall off that horse like with this sequel because we waited so long for Jigsaw to be an actual character in these movies
Yep.
again, and we
Hmm.
liked him in Saw X. So I'm glad that they're taking their time
Yep.
and working out to make sure it's right. So we just don't have that fluke victory. You know what I mean
That's
with
right.
X.
Agreed. Agreed. And we've got the poll up in the chat. Wow. And we already, we already got 10 votes. Is Saw from 2004 a classic or not? If you vote yes, you're voting innocent. If you're voting no, then you are voting guilty. Right now, we're at 92% innocent. Wow. That jumped quick. This is crazy, man. I'm telling you, when we've talked about this before, I'm
Hmm.
telling you, it was like sometimes it was like crickets in the audience. And I was like, what is going on? I love this movie, this franchise. So we'll see how it ends up. Okay, so let's go to our next category that we're going to be talking about officially, and it is okay. When we're talking horror movies, Eric, it always comes down to the kills or the
Hmm.
death scenes, or, if we're going by the torture porn terminology, the torture scenes.
Hmm.
Again, I don't look at these scenes as such because the story of this film and the franchise, it already kind of tells you, what the purpose of this is. These people aren't put into traps just so that John can sit back and like, oh yeah, let's I'm enjoying this. It's not
Hmm.
about that. You know what I mean? So, anyways, I'll
Hmm.
get off my soapbox. But as far as kills in the film, meaning how things are set up or completed or practical or set design, what have you, what would you give it of a score 1 to 5?
I think it deserves a solid 4.
Okay.
We get just enough blood
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to make them stick with you. And again, people think there's more blood than there is. The
That's right.
scene with Amanda and the bear trap, what she has to do to the young man that's got the key inside his stomach.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
only see a little bit, but your mind tricks you. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
The poor guy in the barbed wire. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You don't
Wow.
see I don't remember if you see any blood with him crawling at all because they speed up the film a little bit, which
Mm-hmm.
also helps the intensity because he's struggling so
Yes.
much in the razor
Mm-hmm.
wire. But just even little things like the 2 detectives being taken out.
Yeah.
And even though
Woo.
it's assuming he doesn't survive, we're just talking this film, what Gordon does to his leg. That's
Mm-hmm.
very brutal. The
Mm-hmm.
fate of Adam, we're putting 2 and 2 together. Even if there was no
Yeah.
sequel, we know he's not gonna make it out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We're still wondering, but we know that's off screen and that's your imagination. I think it's a
Mm-hmm.
solid 4 because of the creativity, just the right amount of gore. Just Danny Glover. What I think he gets his neck slit, if I remember,
Yeah. Mhm.
and seeing he gets taken out with the shotgun. So it's just enough to, no pun intended, leave an impact, but it's not so over the top. Like again, like with last week, me personally, I'm kind of rolling my eyes. So
I know. Yes. Terrifier is definitely a different conversation, no doubt.
oh,
Okay, so you're going with a 4.
yes.
Um, I have to say I will also go with a 4. I think that in this film they have multiple scenes and you named them, but multiple ways that these kills um impact the film. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Whereas some movies and even some of my most beloved horror films, there's like one type of beat for a kill, or a
Mhm.
certain type of energy for a kill, and it's not very there's not a lot of variety. But in this movie, there is
Mhm.
because like you said, you've got the guy in the barbed wire and bro, as soon as I saw that scene, I just felt like I had goosebumps all over
Yeah.
my body and I was like itching. I was like, "Oh my god." You know, and you've mentioned TCM multiple times, and I think that that is so smart. Um, by the way, shout out to TCM, almost 50th anniversary, and just a fantastic film, still making an impact in horror. But you're right, just like with TCM, there's a lot that goes on in our minds when we're watching a movie like Saw, because it's it's crazy as this movie is, there isn't a lot of gore, and there's
Right.
not gore for gore's sake. There's not tons of blood that is being splashed around. And so your mind, works a lot, your imagination, and I think it's a fantastic um way to do horror, to let
Mhm.
the viewer be involved too. The Amanda scene, which is iconic. I'll never forget when I first saw that. First of all, just such an iconic visual of Shawnee Smith in the bear trap, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And man, she barely gets out of that thing, and then
That
of course what she has to do.
like you said, the visual of her, I think the fact that it's so big and she's such
Right.
a tiny woman, you know what I
She
mean?
is.
She's so thin. And so
Mhm.
you have that contrast, and that's what makes it more scary.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, and there's a reason why that was kind of like the imagery of this film, and still is to this
Mhm.
day, because the setup, what was going on, the way it was shot, cinematography too.
Mhm.
Because that's part of Kills too, how it's shot, and I think the cinematography for this film, as well as most of the whole franchise, is so well done. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna go with a 4 as well, for the kills. Jamie's going 4.5. She's trying to get that extra. Jigsaw saying 4 for the kills, traps, to future sequels, 5 across the board, though. All right.
Mhm.
Tom saying, oh, I love this. Tom saying, so Carrie Elwes does not survive. Well, guess what? That's what we kind of were wondering. You know,
Mhm.
that's what was great about the movie too. A lot of questions at the end. I
Yep.
love that. Um, Russell going 4 for the kills. Okay. All right. Hey, we got Kenny in the house. What's up, Kenny? Good to see
Hey.
you. And Brian in the house. What's up, Brian? Good to have you here. Saying, what genre would Saw be considered? Well, it's definitely horror, in my opinion.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. I might have heard some people say thriller, but it's horror to me.
It's definite. Well, the first film, in my opinion, is looked at as a horror. In my opinion, the same way some people might look at Seven
Yeah,
or Silence of the Lambs. It rides that line. Once we
yeah,
get to
yeah,
2 and 3, it's full on horror. But I could see the first film riding the line because, like I said, it doesn't rely on gore so much.
yeah.
So,
Yep. Agreed. Agreed. And Jamie saying, I always believed that Dr. Gordon got out. There you go. There you go. All right. Let's also check to see where we are in our poll. We got 25 votes, 84%. It's moving a little bit, Eric.
mm-mm.
So we've got 84% for innocent. We got 16% for guilty. Is Saw a classic or not? And it's interesting because tonight it looks like we're galvanizing a lot of people that are big fans of it. So who would have thought? Hey, we got JPEG in the house too. What's going
Hey,
on?
JPEG.
Good to see you. All
Hmm.
right, let's go to our next talking point, and this is kind of always a fun one to get to, and it is okay. When we talk about overall, for this film, taking into account all things is basically
Hmm.
about, including what we've called the it factor on other streams, which is about entertainment value, rewatchability, stuff like that. What are we going to give Saw 1 to 5? Has a 50% Rotten Tomatoes score. So we want to give our feelings on it overall as a film. So 1 to 5, what do you think?
Wow, you said only 50%?
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that
Okay,
crazy?
since we can't give 0.5s because that was made clear last week night, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna give it a 4.
Okay.
I think the story is great. The it factor is really good, but it's also one of those the thing that can kind of hinder the it factor. It's one of those films that you want to watch. No
Mhm.
phone. You're not doing laundry. One of
Right.
that thing. So it's a good and a bad. The only reason I'm not giving it a full on 5 is just kind of the lack of the I hate to say side characters, but you know what I mean. Like Dina
Mhm.
Meyer and Zepp and the Gordon family. I do
Mhm.
think that hinders it. I wish we had a little bit more of the relationship between Gordon and his wife. I mean,
Yes.
yes, it's a man wanting to make sure his wife and daughter are safe. I
That's right.
wanted a little bit more just so we can see whether, even if they're at odds, and we know
Mhm.
that Gordon and his wife are going through troubles, but I wish we saw a little bit more. So then when Gordon does his thing to get out, we understand how much he does love and care for her. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I gotta knock it a little bit for that, as much as I love the film. But I think overall, I'm gonna give it a solid 4.
Okay, so we have got a 4. And also, before I give my score for the overall category, and in the poll, we're at 27 votes. Let's keep going, guys. Let's see if we can have 30 votes. 85% for an innocent for Saw. We also have um, gifted memberships that we've put out there. So thank you guys and folks that are getting them. We appreciate you, kind of coming into more of the inner circle of the channel and the community. It really helps us out a lot. So we hope you enjoy it. We do a lot of exclusive things, and
Mm-hmm.
usually I'm able to communicate with members. Um, some, sometimes it's daily, but just a little bit more communication and so forth. So yeah, Rachel, Saul only has a 50%. I know. I was
Yeah.
really shocked by that as well. I really was. Um, Danielle is going with a 5 for the overall. Okay. Let's see. Spoof is going 4.5. There you go. Let's see. He said, there you go. See, that's what I'm talking about. He says 4. Sorry. There you go. May is going with a 4. Rachel says, I think Saw is a solid 4. Okay. Russell is saying he's going with a 4. Very cool. Let's see. Thanks, Rachel. And thank you guys for welcoming folks in.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate that. Jigsaw saying overall a 4. It changed the game. The legacy it created is legendary. Well said.
Yep.
Well said. It definitely was a game changer. No doubt about that at all. Jamie saying overall a 5. It has amazing atmosphere. Set the standard. The suspense was intense, and I never saw that end coming. Everyone, I've been waiting to hear all the puns, man. And Jamie said, "I'm gonna step up." Um, Brian's going with a 4. All right. For me, when I look at the whole picture of the film and my enjoyment, which is a big part of it too. I mean, you've got to have that. You've got to have the entertainment value, um, the characters, the moments, how I felt when I left the theater.
Mm-hmm.
The energy that I had, which of course when I heard that they were doing a second one, I was just so excited. I truly, truly was. I would have to say I'm going to go with a 4 as well. I think that this is an example of a little film that could,
Mm-hmm.
you said it too, lightning in a bottle. You had some very seasoned actors in Cary Elwes and Danny Glover who, they were not at the peak of
Right.
their career, but I think that they added some gravitas to this
Mm-hmm.
film. When I saw that they were in it, I'll never forget in the theater, and I saw that they were in it. I was like, okay, all right, this is because the other thing too, when this came out, this was kind of under the radar.
Yeah.
This wasn't like some big production and everybody's like, yeah, I'm gonna go see Saw. It was really, boots to the ground, and it really affected me in a positive way, and that's why I enjoy it.
I grew to respect, like, I've always, loved Carrie and Danny for I've seen him in everything. You know what I mean? It
Mm-hmm.
was nice though seeing Carrie back to doing something that wasn't a comedy. You know what I mean? It's
Yes.
not The Princess Bride. It's not Men in Tights. You
Yeah.
know, I love him in Kiss the Girls. That's a
Oh, he
great
was
one.
great in
Yeah,
that,
so
wasn't
it's
he?
nice seeing like he's an actor. It's nice
He is.
seeing him act. And Danny Glover, everyone knows him, Lethal Weapon. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I also love him in Predator 2. You know my feelings on Predator 2. But it's nice
Mm-hmm.
to see him go that kind of mean obsessive route, like Color
Yeah.
Purple. When he's Mister in Color
Mm-hmm.
Purple, he's scary there. He's kind
Yeah.
of scary here when
He
you find
is.
out why he's doing what he's doing. So it's great to see these two actors outside of the genre they're really known for,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
they both do a great job.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. We're at 32 likes. Thank you, Sarah. And Doom's in the house saying the main thing that bothers me about Saw 1 is the key going down the drain at the beginning. OCD engage.
Yeah.
I know. And it's, but again, that's a great point because even things like that, when you watch the movie and you see it, the way that James set up the scene, you
Mm-hmm.
see it, and it's not the type of thing. I mean, if you're paying attention to the movie,
Mm-hmm.
you don't forget it, but it's not like he like beat you over the head with it, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a very subtle skill to have because
Mm-hmm.
when it all came to fruition at the end of the film, you start to think, oh yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
key. You know what I mean? Like sometimes some filmmakers will go too far one way or the other. They won't show
Yeah.
enough of it so that you remember it, or they'll just beat you over the friggin' head. And that was a very subtle scene and showed
Uh,
James's ability.
Like I said, that's why I love James's movies so much, and his career has been like that slow build. This
Yes.
was a moderate hit for what it was, and then he had Dead Silence, which I love, but
Yes.
it's one of those movies that it's 50-50. Either people really love it, it's got its cult followings, or people just kind of forget about it. But then he
Mhm.
was building up to Insidious, and then The Conjuring, and the man just he got on that rocket and took off.
He
You know what I
really
mean?
did.
Then he made $1 billion. The guy who directed Saw made over $1 billion with
Mhm.
Aquaman. That says a
Right?
lot.
And
And
the Fast and the Furious.
and that's right. And that's why I say kind of like what we said, despite what I felt about Terrifier,
Mhm.
its huge following is a victory for horror.
Mhm.
Seeing where James is now, he always says, "I'm just this little Filipino guy from Australia." You know what I mean? I'm no one special because he's so
Mhm.
humble. He really
He
is.
is.
He's so freaking humble,
He
and to
is.
see the success he's gotten, and his buddy Lee Winnell is
Lee
very
Winnell too.
successful. It's
Mhm.
so cool to see where these guys are now compared to where they were with this little, very cheap horror movie.
Yep, agreed. Just a very small concept that they started out as a short and they were able to
Mm-hmm.
get this thing theatrical. And it's like, wow, man, credit to them, man. Big
Yeah.
credit to them. We also got Tom saying Carrie Elwes is terrible in this movie.
Oh,
Ooh, well, there we go. All right, we got the other side of it here now too. Okay,
mm-hmm.
and
It's
make sure
okay.
you guys, make sure you guys are voting in the poll right now. We're at 31 votes. Is Saw a classic or not? Yes is innocent, and we're at 87%. No is guilty, and we're at 13%. So this is running away. This is our third case on this series, and this one might be the biggest runaway so far. It's like, wow, unbelievable. Okay, well, maybe not unbelievable. I don't know. Russell saying love the short that they made. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the concept is great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Rachel saying there has to be a blooper out there with Carrie responding to someone on the set with "as you wish," right? That would be great. Oh my god. Okay. All right. So look, let's do this. We're gonna
Mm-hmm.
hold open the poll a little bit longer. I've also got something that I want to throw out to you guys, especially for you guys that are channel members. That I think is going to be a fun thing for October, or what we're calling Horrortober. So while I take a look at the numbers that we've got here, Eric, let's just go to our closing arguments, just what you think not only of the film but this conversation, some of the vibe that we've got from some of the fans that love it in the chat, and some of the folks that aren't big about it.
Um, Again, I love this concept you have for the channel because we do have categories, but a lot of it is just water cooler talk. You know what
Yes.
I mean? It's just us
Hmm.
saying our opinions, feeding off the group chat. I really enjoyed tonight because, again, a lot of people tend to forget when we're talking about the original film, it's not all over the top gore. It's not okay. How do we top the needle pit from part two? Well, we're gonna have
Right.
some guy, get doused in pig remains, and then we're gonna top that. There's very little gore in this film. And again,
Hmm.
I'm a sucker for the less is more approach. And when it comes to horror, you know, this is the perfect example of less is more. You get just enough gore, you get a great twist ending because lots of horror films need that. It's a
Yep.
horror. It's not just a. It's not a jump scare. It's an ending that really kind of surprises you. Your eyes are going to get wide, at least the first time you see it. Um, and again, like I said, I'm so happy that it's successful because of James Wan and Lee Winnell where they're at right now in their careers.
Mm.
Um, it's nice to see where this film has gone in terms of a franchise, but 20 years, 10 films, and a spinoff with Chris Rock. This one, in my opinion, still holds up. It still holds
Yeah.
up from beginning. We didn't mention the soundtrack. Charlie Clouser's
Yes.
soundtrack. I have
Yes.
Hello Zepp on my iPod that I listen to because
Me too.
it's just so chilling. You know what I mean? The way it builds up, and then it has that end where it just grabs you, and you're watching the scene in your mind. You know exactly what's
You.
happening when you hear
Yep.
that track. It's just like you said, the little movie that could, and I'm just happy to talk about it and give it a little bit more a shine tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. And these guys, a lot of great comments. And we got
Hmm.
Charlie in the chat too. Hey, Charlie, good to have you here.
Welcome.
Hope you're doing well. Hope you're enjoying the conversation. We're having a blast here. And Oliver's saying Saw is one of the greatest franchises of all time. All right, crossing over all genres of movies. Saw is not about the gore, it's about the characters and the drama and all the
Hmm.
details. Exactly. And that's what we were
Yes.
saying earlier. And I really think that that's a huge, huge thing to put out there is that it is so much more than the traps. And
Yeah.
and I just hope that people more and more come to understand that because when it was given that term of torture porn, I really think it
Hmm.
was kind of a negative
Yeah.
connotation, but it's so much more than that. um Closing arguments, man, I just wanted to share that ending when I first saw it, and I was
Hmm.
in the theater with my buddies, and we're watching the film, and all these things are coming together. I did not see that coming. Now,
Hmm.
we always have this in maybe friend circles or obviously on YouTube horror circles and so forth. I've heard people say, "I knew it, I knew it." You didn't know
No, you didn't. No,
it.
you didn't.
There might have been like one out of 1,000 or so
Right.
people that was just guessing. When he moved and got up, I was
Hmm.
just like, it just totally blew my mind. It
Hmm.
blew apart everything that I had seen previously. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And it made me start thinking back in the movie as I'm watching it, which is great,
Yes.
because now I'm involved even
Hmm.
more than I already was. That finale is great. I
Yep.
didn't see it coming. And, even though we don't get a lot of Tobin as far as just, back and forth type of thing, just the
Hmm.
fact of him standing up and then, game over, all
Yeah.
those little things, the catchphrases, talking about, you don't take it for granted now and all of that.
Hmm.
And it was just like, wow. And like you said, and I'm so glad that you said it because I was gonna throw it out here with the finale of it. That soundtrack, it's
Yeah.
just so awesome. Imagine, guys, I was in the theater and that was just pumping, and it and
Yeah.
it it already gets you even more on the edge of your seat. The score alone,
Hmm.
it was fantastic. And every time, I know this sounds geeky, but I'm just being honest. Every time that you'd hear that theme in the other films, it just I was
It
already
pumps you
like,
up. Yeah.
it's awesome. It's
If-
absolutely awesome.
And like someone mentioned in the chat earlier with the key, You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You don't necessarily forget about it, but it's not in the back of your mind. You kind of forget that there's a body laying in the middle between these two guys because you're
That's
focused
right.
on the story outside and these two guys listening to the tape, trying to figure out how to get out. And
Mhm.
again with the writing, you know, you understand you understand why Zepp's doing what he's doing. And
That's
Zepp's
right.
not necessarily a bad guy.
Right.
He could be like the nicest guy in the world, but he has to do what he has to do to survive. Like he was nice to Kramer, you know what I mean? He was
Mhm.
telling Gordon, remember his name is John, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So he was probably, to a lesser extent, like he's like Danny Trejo in Rob Zombie's Halloween. He is the
Yeah.
orderly or the janitor who knows all the patients and he wants to be nice to them.
That's
So
right.
when you see that, that's another twist. You're like, this fucker is,
Mhm.
trying to kill Monica Potter and the daughter, but then you're like, it's either that or die. You know what I
Right.
mean? You don't know what you're going to do until you're put
Mhm.
in that situation.
That's right.
So
That's
again,
right.
that's how good the writing is.
Yeah, people are put in situations where they have to jump off that bridge or
Mm-hmm.
else it's over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the other thing about this film that's so great and about the franchise is that it really puts you in that particular place of where
Yeah.
you have to choose
Yeah.
one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough.
Yeah.
Just like these people in the traps. It's
Yeah.
tough. Are you going to rip yourself as you get through that barbed wire?
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to do what Amanda
Mm-hmm.
did to survive?
Yeah.
You
It's
know?
like we don't know Zepp's backstory. Does he have a wife and child at home? You know what
Mhm.
I mean? So
Mhm.
you have to put yourself in that situation. And it's easy to
That's
say
right.
what you would do as a viewer, but it's like that's
Mhm.
good storytelling. And
It is.
it just it's kind of sucks that the Saw franchise is more known for the gore and the traps when there
Mhm.
really is good writing and stories
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
at least the earlier films.
Yep, agreed. And some really good performances throughout the franchise. And I'm really even when we talked about it through our series, I really want to at some point try to continue to shed some light on the positives because I
Hmm.
do think it's a really really good franchise. Um Charlie saying love Saw and Tobin Bell plays John so well in all the characters, the complexity.
Hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, there's some good stuff in there. There really, really is. Okay, guys, we're about to close down the poll. We still got some votes coming in. We're at 35 votes, 83%. We moved down a point, so it you never know. You never know. Keep voting. We'll keep this open for about another minute. And while we wait, also to throw this out there to you guys, for you guys that weren't around when we officially kicked off Horrortober the other day on the channel. Just to throw out, we have a Horrortober movie challenge, which some of you guys have already started and have been leaving comments. And I'm going to try to catch up on some of the newer comments thrown out there, but it's great to hear it. What we have is a list of films that we've put together, Coriander and myself. And we're basically having some fun with it. We've got a challenge, and here it is. We've got 22 films. I'm sorry, 24 films, and we're seeing if folks can get through 22 of them. So it's a great list. Some
Hmm.
classics. We've got slashers. We've got Italian horror. We've got we've got movies that are more mystery oriented.
Hmm.
So it's really really cool. For you guys that are channel members, there's going to be some cool stuff that we're going to be doing. Little fun things. I don't want to give it away, but it's going to be some fun things that we're going to continue to do throughout the rest of the month, all the way up until Halloween. So if you are not a channel member and if you'd like to join us, we gave away some gifted memberships, but all you have to do is hit the join button next to the subscribe button. You can join us and talk about this challenge, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a heck of a lot of fun. And I love this list.
Hmm.
It's really,
Yeah,
really cool.
there's a lot of good stuff on it.
Yeah.
Shout out to my favorite Pet Cemetery. Late night with the devil was oh man, that one was so good.
Yeah.
And one that no one really talks about. Shout out to Hush.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. Absolutely. Some good ones in there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and hey, before we give the results of the poll, we got Troy also with a channel member anniversary, 12 months. We're at a year. Very, very cool, man. Thank you so much for all the support. It really helps us out. Troy also is one of our franchise fans. We're going to be doing our member giveaway hopefully within the next. I think we're going to be trying to do it in the next 2 weeks or so. But anyways, thanks for doing that, man. Saying love the OG for it being a story that unfolds slowly and in layers. The sequels get to be too much trap, exposition dump finale. All right. All right. Well said, man. Well said. Okay. So let me just make sure I'm caught up on the chat as well. We got Brock in the chat. Welcome, welcome. Okay. Brian saying that's what was wild for me. It was the lack of choices and subsequent choices. That's right. It's tough, man. It's like, what would you do in these
Mm-hmm.
situations? Seriously. Let's see. Oh, you know what, Danielle? You're right. I think I did say 20. I've got it in the community tab, so that's where you guys can find a little bit more of the details. Let's see. Yes, Hush is so underrated. I agree, Jamie.
Yes.
I truly do. Very, very much so. Okay, so we're going to close down the poll. This was pretty much a runaway right from the beginning. So, very, very cool, guys. We had a lot of folks jumping in. But the question was, is Saw a classic or not? And we have 82% saying innocent. 82%. We had 35 votes. That was awesome, guys. Great job. Great job. Man, who would have thought? We got a lot of innocent movies
Mm-hmm.
in this series so far.
Yeah, it's been fair, I'll say, concerning
It
the first
has.
episode, and I'll leave it at that. But you know what? Honestly, what really surprised me was last week with Terrifier, how how
Yeah.
that was deemed innocent. But again, the that's what I like about these films that we've chosen. Jason Goes to Hell, Terrifier, and now Saw. It's got its fandoms, and
Mm-hmm.
again, shout out. I want to shout out the chat. That's what I really like with my own channel or when I'm on nights or other channels is just the interaction with you guys and seeing
Mm-hmm.
a lot of your passion, or as long as you're civil, what you don't like about it, and you
Yeah.
actually explain why instead of just saying, well, that movie effing sucks. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
why? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm really enjoying, like being a guest on these verdict episodes.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a lot of fun, and again, just a different way to kind of like look at a movie and to try to kind of go beyond the surface or beneath the
Mm-hmm.
surface, I should say, a little bit more, which is a lot of fun, especially with some of these movies that have a lot of people on both sides of the fence, which
Mm-hmm.
all three of these movies have. So I think that that's going to be kind of where we're going to go. So who knows what we're going to do for our fourth case? I have no clue, but I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's let's catch up to the chat as we head on out. Yeah, Hush is awesome. You
Yeah.
guys are fans of Hush. That's great to hear,
Anything
man.
Mike Flanagan, dude. I haven't seen
I
anything
agree.
bad from that guy.
I absolutely agree. He's amazing, kind of underrated. But
Mm-hmm.
I am glad to see that he's starting to get more and more respect and admiration because he's a fantastic filmmaker. He
I
really
think a
is.
lot of his limited series on Netflix is what's helping him get that following. Midnight Mass was fantastic, dude. If
Yes.
no one's seen Midnight Mass, get onto Netflix and watch that. You'll
Yes.
never
Yep.
look at Mark Hamill the same way again. He
Mm-hmm.
was so good at that. And same with Henry Thomas. Good Lord.
That's
Yeah.
true. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, you're so right. Okay, guys. Well, listen, we appreciate everyone and all of the comments and conversation here. And Charlie saying, love the Thing poster. Thank you so much. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Thank you. Thank you. But we appreciate you guys hanging out and having some fun. If you haven't, hit the like button. It helps to support us. We'd appreciate that. Also, we didn't get to everyone's comment. We can't do that, which well, obviously it's a good thing for the channel because we just have a lot of folks that have a lot of passion. But
Mhm.
you know, let's continue a conversation in the comment section. That's always a great place to do it. I try to, get involved in the comment section as much as I can. And, I think it's a great place for you guys as well, not only to talk about your viewpoints, but also to have connectivity with each other in this community. So please do that as well. If you haven't subscribed to Eric's channel, please do that. Brock, you're right. Dr. Sleep is a masterpiece. There's no question about that. No doubt. And we appreciate all of you guys. So we will talk to you guys next time. And as always, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace.
Cheers.